Hello, my Bill 5000 Nation. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully, everyone's having a great day. If not, I hope it gets better from here. We are back with another MrBallen video. This one's titled "Tragic Endings: Top 3 Photos with Disturbing Backstories." It ain't gonna tell me. It's not gonna tell me. Oh, part 5. It told me. Holy shit! It hasn't told me all day. I don't know. All right, I'm excited to get in today's video. If you guys are excited as I am, please go ahead, turn them lights down low, put on something comfy, cup up with something special. Let's get slightly disturbed with a hint of what the ever-loving hell. Yeah, let's get that. All right. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, and there's going to be, if you haven't done it already, gone over to the Discord, there's some videos up over there. We got a Llama Arts and we got a Life of Luxury if you're into that kind of thing. There will be more videos posted up for the supporter section. And yes, like if you want, you can go over to the Discord and still, you don't have to become a supporter. I still post all the videos I post here on YouTube. I still have discussions. There's a place for pictures. There's a place for requests, because I've noticed a lot of people's had a hard time getting requests to me in my comments and all that good stuff. So if you cannot get to me or anything like that, or you've noticed it's been deleted, because sometimes YouTube will do that. I don't know why they do it. I have it set to where they don't delete anything. Like I have to go in and review stuff, but for some reason things are still getting deleted. I don't know why. I don't understand it. So this is made like you can go on there and do requests. We can still talk like after the premiere goes off, and like we're still in the middle of our live chat conversations. If you guys want, you can go over and hit me up on the Discord, and there's a place for discussions, and we can sit there and we can still shoot the shit. There's also a place for pictures, because if you have watched this channel for any amount of time whatsoever, you guys know I love pictures. If you guys are out hiking somewhere and it's like your favorite place and you think it's just the most beautiful place in the world, get a picture. I want to see it. I have got to see it. I love the outdoors. If any of y'all feel comfortable and want to, please most definitely do. I love that type of shit. You can tell by my videos how amazing I think like sceneries, landscapes, all that shit is. Like I love it. I love it so much. So yeah, definitely give it a try. And if you know you like me enough and you want to become a supporter, I am posting videos up there for supporters as well. Now, let's go ahead and get into today's story.
Today, I'm going to share with you 3 progressively more disturbing stories, and at the end of each of them, I'm going to share with you the picture that is famously associated with them. But before I get into today's stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right channel,
stories, man.
Because that's all I do, and I upload 3, 4, even 5 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, please convince the like button to go camping on their own on Mount Shasta. Also, please subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my weekly uploads.
I've drank a Shasta.
All right, let's get into today's stories.
Man, I love the 3 stories so much. I really do. Like, I have ADD, ADHD, so the 3 stories really help me keep my attention going. It really do.
In 1970, 14-year-old Keith...
And yes, I know I've been muting his intro, but sometimes I get hit with a copyright, sometimes I don't, so it's just easier. It's just easier for me.
Sapsford was living in Sydney, Australia with his parents, and he was desperate to travel the world. His parents wanted him to be able to travel, they just lacked the resources to be able to afford that kind of thing. However, they were able to pull a little bit of cash, and the 3 of them did go on a nice European vacation that his parents were hoping would kind of calm down his desires to want to travel all the time. They thought this would be, you know, a taste before he got older and he could go travel as much as he wanted. But when he came back from that vacation, it really had the opposite effect. It was like Keith had experienced the life that he so desperately wanted, and now he's home and it's like that life has been taken from him. Following that vacation,
Damn.
Keith began trying to run away from home. Not because he didn't want to be around his parents, but just because he saw it as his only way to, see
Get
the
the
world.
fuck out.
But every time he would run away, his parents would quickly find him and bring him back home. Their concern for their son would only grow, though, because he would find ways to sneak away and be gone for longer and longer stretches of time, and they're thinking it's only a matter of time before he really gets hurt. In an effort to save their son, they ended up enrolling him in this very strict boarding school that was for boys with behavioral problems. And they were hoping that the staff at the school was going to be able to kind of calm their son down and keep him from trying to run away all the time. But unfortunately, the school
How'd that
really
work?
had the opposite effect, because
Oh,
the school,
God.
in a sense, was like a prison. You weren't allowed to leave. And so immediately, Keith, when he gets there, he's looking for ways to escape this boarding school. And 2 weeks after arriving, he would be successful. He would elude the staff and he would escape.
Damn.
3 days after he had escaped this boarding school, he found his way to the Sydney airport. Now, this is the 1970s, and it was far easier to get into an airport than it would be today, where there's lots of security. There wasn't much of that at the time that Keith was at the
Pre
airport.
9/11,
And
got
so
you.
Keith walked across the tarmac to a plane that was bound for Tokyo, and he climbed inside the wheel well. He tucked himself in there and he waited for takeoff. A photographer named John Gilpin happened to be at the Sydney airport on the same day that Keith is now snuck into that wheel well, and he had a new lens for his camera that he was testing out. And at one point, he was just taking pictures of the tarmac, and he began taking pictures of a plane that was taking off, and it was the same plane that Keith had snuck into. And he takes pictures of it as it takes off, it goes up to altitude, and it flies away. And he just took a series of pictures of it, puts his camera away, doesn't think twice about it. A week later, John was looking through his photos, and he stopped when he saw this picture. John had inadvertently captured the final moments of Keith as he fell nearly.
Let me move my big ass. Oh, let me take it back just ever so tenderly, okay?
Twice about it. A week later, John was looking through his photos and he stopped when he saw this picture. John had inadvertently captured the final moments of Keith as he fell nearly 200 feet to his death. As soon as the pilot took off, the wheels were retracted, opening up that wheel well for a brief second, and there was nothing for Keith to hold on to, and he slipped out. But even if he had not fallen out, he almost certainly would have died from freezing temperatures and lack of oxygen at altitude.
Damn. Damn,
On
man.
April 1st, 1990, a police officer in Arizona was driving on the highway when he saw a tractor trailer that was pulled over on the side of the road with its hazards on. And so he pulls over, he gets out, walks out to the driver's side door, and he looks up at the driver and says, "Hey, do you need any help?" And the driver is still sitting in the driver's seat, hands on the wheel. He's barely acknowledging the police officer. And he kind of looks down and shrugs and just says, "No, I'm okay." The police officer doesn't know what it was, but there was something off about this guy. He wasn't doing anything wrong, but there was something off about him. He couldn't tell what it was. So he asked him again, "Are you sure that nothing is wrong?" And the driver, again, very sketchy, just says, "No, nothing's wrong." And so the police officer, acting on a gut instinct, says, "Hey, can you step out? Do you mind if I talk to you outside of your vehicle?" And so very reluctantly, the driver kind of slithers his way out of the vehicle, making sure that he doesn't fully open the door to kind of let the officer see what's going on inside his cab. He gets out and shuts the door, and the two start talking. Over the course of their conversation, where basically the officer is trying to figure out what you're doing here. Why are you parked on the side of the road with your hazards on? Why aren't you telling me what's going on? Why are you acting so strange? At some point, the officer just kind of had enough, and he said, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to need to search your vehicle." He opens up the door and goes inside, and there's nothing out of the ordinary in the front two seats. But when he looks into the back section where there was a sleeping compartment, because this is a big 18-wheeler, and there's like a little area in the back of the cab
Sleeper
where these
cab.
guys doing these long drives can sleep. When he looks into that section, he sees there's this woman with her mouth gagged, handcuffed, huddling in the corner of this sleeping section, looking absolutely terrified. The officer immediately gets out and he grabs the guy and he puts him under arrest. As he's arresting him, the driver is saying, "No, she wants to be here. She chose to be here." But the officer didn't buy it, and he said, "You're under arrest for kidnapping." The officer puts this guy in his cruiser and shuts the door, and then he calls for backup. When backup arrived, they were able to take the woman out. She was unhurt. She survived. But it would turn out that she was one of the very, very lucky few, because the driver was Robert Rhodes, aka the truck stop killer, who over the previous 20 years had killed over 50 women. He was one of the most prolific serial killers in American history. But the crime that the truck stop killer was actually known for was not this kidnapping where this woman survived. It was the kidnapping and murder of a woman named Regina K. Walters. Regina was a young woman who came from a broken home, and at the age of 14, she ran away and began hitchhiking across Texas with her boyfriend. In February of 1990, Rhodes picked up Regina and her boyfriend, who were looking for a ride. Rhodes almost immediately kills Regina's boyfriend and takes Regina captive, and he keeps her chained up in his traveling torture chamber for several years before ultimately killing her as well. After Rhodes was finally arrested by this Arizona police officer on the side of the highway, the investigation searched Rhodes' house, and they found some pictures. This is a picture of Regina K. Walters in the abandoned barn where her body was ultimately found. Immediately after Rhodes took this picture, he ended Regina's life.
That poor young lady. That's disgusting.
On September 6, 1992, two moose hunters that were hunting just outside of Denali National Park in Alaska were walking up to a well-known landmark amongst hunters in the area.
I ain't hunting no fucking moose. Do you know what those mooses do? They kill you. They violent. Don't fuck with a moose, bruh.
It was this old school bus that was parked in the middle of nowhere. It was all rusted over and nature had practically overgrown it. And hunters, trappers, and...
Bro, I'm telling you, like, I used to live out that way. And, like, you walk up onto the hill, there was no road going up through there. There's not even a place where there could have been a road. And there was a school bus and a van up there, man. I don't know how that shit happens. It's crazy.
Travelers would use this bus as kind of like a center point that you would reference where you're going relative to this particular bus. But when they walked up to it, they saw on the outside of the door that there was a note. Attention possible visitors, SOS, I need your help. I am injured, near death, and too weak to hike out of here. I am all alone. This is not a joke. In the name of God, please remain to save me. I am out collecting berries close by and shall return this evening. Thank you, Chris McCandless. Dated August ? 5 months earlier, in April of 1992, Chris McCandless, the one who wrote that note, had hitchhiked from Carthage, South Dakota to Fairbanks, Alaska. Okay. Once there, he hitchhiked again with an electrician named Jim Gallion, who was making his way out of Fairbanks. Chris introduced himself as Alex and asked Jim if he would take him to Denali National Park, which was about 2 hours away to the southwest. On the drive, Jim asked Chris what he was going to be doing at the park, because this is like wild Alaska country. And frankly, Chris did not look like a rugged Alaskan outdoorsman. Chris told Jim that he was going to be living off the land for a few months. Jim would later say that he had serious doubts about Chris's ability to survive in the Alaskan bush. As it was, Chris only had a light backpack, did have a rifle, but he really didn't have warm clothes on. He only had 10 pounds of rice. That was the only thing he brought for food. He didn't have a compass. He didn't have a map. He didn't have a watch. He just seemed totally ill-equipped for what he was saying he was going to go do. At some point, Jim tried to convince Chris not to go, or to at least postpone, and he even offered, hey, I'll drive you up to Anchorage and I'll buy you equipment. You need the right equipment for what you're going to be doing. Let's go there first. But Chris was stubborn, and so Jim ultimately relented and said, okay. He drove him to the park. Before Chris left, Jim actually gave him a pair of warm boots that he had in his truck. He said, here, you can use these more than I can. And Chris thanked him, took his boots, and he was on his way. Although Chris was planning for this extensive hike through Denali National Park all the way to the Bering Sea, but Chris would only make it about 20 miles into his journey before stopping at an old rusted bus just outside of the park. Chris would live in this bus for 16 weeks, and according to his diary, that first week he was there was particularly rough. He was snowed in, he couldn't catch anything to eat, so he's hungry and cold. But shortly thereafter, he developed a routine. He was able to hunt successfully for some small game. He found some plants that were good to eat, and by and large, his entries made it seem like he was very happy. However, the last month of diary entries really painted a very different picture. After living in this bus for nearly 3 months, he indicated in his diary that he was kind of sick and tired of living off the land and he was ready to return back to society. So on July 3rd, he packs up his camp and he starts walking back the 20 miles towards where he came into the park in the first place. But when he came into the park 3 months earlier, the river that he was going to need to cross was frozen. And now that he's returning in the summer, it had thawed, and now it's the 75-foot wide raging river that was basically impossible to cross. And so he's trapped on the wrong side of this river. What he didn't know, because he didn't have a compass, he didn't have a map, he didn't know the area well, was there was actually a hand-operated tram that would take you across the river in the summer that was only a mile away from his camp that was labeled on almost every map. In addition, there was a hunting cabin not far from that tram that's also on just about every map of this particular area. That had food, it had clothes, it had bedding. He could have stayed in this hunting cabin until conditions were okay again to make the journey back home. But again, he doesn't have a map, so he doesn't know these things exist. So
That's
at
why you
some
should
point,
always
he turns
be
around
prepared,
and goes
bro.
back to
Always
the
be
bus,
prepared.
feeling totally dejected. That night, his journal entry just said, "Reined in, river looks impossible, lonely, scared." All of Chris's diary entries following his return to the bus after not being able to cross this river got shorter and bleaker and really painted a picture of a guy that was going downhill. The final entry in Chris's diary just says, "Beautiful blue berries." And then 19 days after his final entry is when those two moose hunters find this bus and see the note, the SOS note, pinned to the outside. The hunters go inside the bus, and there, laying in a sleeping bag, is the body of Christopher McCandless. Although it's not entirely clear how Christopher actually died, the two most common theories are either starvation or perhaps he ingested a poisonous plant seed. The hunters alerted authorities who came out and they launched an investigation, and during this investigation they found Chris's camera. Chris was an avid photographer. He had taken loads of pictures over the course of his stay out in the wild. This is the final picture that he took on his camera. It's evident from Chris's SOS note on his door that he did want to escape. He wanted to leave the wild. But what's also clear is that at the end, he realized he wasn't going to. The note he's holding in his hand says, "I have had a happy life, and thank the Lord, goodbye, and may God bless all." And so he took one last dignified picture of himself before curling up in his sleeping bag and passing away. Let me know what you thought of these stories in the comments.
Oh my God, that last one, bro. Someone should have helped that poor motherfucker. That's why you should always be prepared when you go out into the woods. It don't matter. It don't matter. It don't matter. It don't matter if you think you've got it. Mother Nature will show you exactly how little you have. Always be prepared. The more prepared you are, if you think you are 100% prepared, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, you're probably still not. I love the outdoors. That's why I have a picture I'm going to place on my Discord for pictures of the outdoors. I love outdoors. I probably wouldn't have been as worried about myself if I had been in that situation as I was for this dude, but I would just follow the river, see where it led, man. I mean, what else do you have the fuck to do? You know what I mean? I really enjoy today's stories, though. If you all enjoyed today's stories as much as I did, please go down there, leave a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. While you're down there, if you want, going over, slap that subscribe button. Become part of the Built 5000 Nation. And if you want to be part of the Built 5000 Nation even more than that, go over and check out the Discord. You don't have to become a supporter of it. You can still sit there, have chats, discussions, and everything else with all the rest of us. Now, if you do want to become a supporter of the Discord, there are videos up. Like I said, Llama Arts and Life of Luxury is up right now. And I plan on doing at least 2 to 3 videos every week up on the Discord for supporters of that. And, as always, be good to one another. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Damn, MrBallen. See, I'd never get lost. I got that flashy-ass Built 5000 merch. Go check out the store while you're at it, too. It'll do you some good. It might get you rescued if you're stuck in the woods. It probably won't. Don't do it. Don't ever listen to anything I say.